And like my first year in recovery, that I actually stayed sober, because like I've been in and out of this program for a while, right? Like 2017 I came in for the first time through a series of DUIs that led me to jail, which led me to treatment, which was Addiction Rehab Toronto. And you know, I've struggled since then, like 60 days out, 30 days out. And finally, in 2025, I kind of hit my bottom, and I came like crawling back. I was at like the jumping off point, you know? And
dude, it's tough when you go back out with a head full of recovery, right? Like a belly full of recovery, they say.
time. Right.
I've been there, you know, I relapsed after 7 years, and I'm getting just goosebumps thinking about it, because it's like the level of shame that comes in when you know what you should be doing. And that's a dangerous word, should, but you know how good it could be.
Yeah.
And you got people calling your phone and just checking up on you. But then in your head, at least for me, it's like, they're talking about me relapsing.
Absolutely.
Right?
Oh,
that fucking idiot. Like he went out, and these are the stories we start to spin in our head.
Yeah.
And it keeps us out there longer.
Yeah.
But all they want is to help us.
I know.
You know?
The guilt and shame, right? Like comes back, and that's exactly the first thing I do in the past, like when I've relapsed, is get rid of my phone, which is dangerous.
Completely get rid of it. Throw it off a bridge?
I don't want any, I do whatever, like either I'll sell it, or I'll give it away to somebody, or I'll leave it somewhere, or I'll break it.
Just
like,
to avoid those people reaching out.
Because the only people I know now are in recovery, right? Or my family. Like those are my only friends. So it's like the last person I want to talk to is, you know, my sponsor, or people that are trying to help me when I don't want the help, you know? And it's a dark place to be, because eventually the time comes where I'm like, okay, I need to come back and let's try this again.
There's no other option for us, right? Like
nothing.
You said it perfectly. It's jails, institutions, death,
right?
Or recovery. Like this, I knew I needed to come back here.
Yeah.
In fact, you know, I remember my wife, when I was in my relapse, she kicked me out, and I was living in Airbnbs for a long time, because just didn't want to surrender, right?
Yeah.
Wanted to do some more research, wanted to have some more fun, whatever. For me, it was the hill to come back to recovery was like this mountain. I always say that.
Yeah.
I would think about it every day, be like, fuck, recovery is always an option, but like, it's so fucking hard.
I know.
It's too hard. I'm just gonna keep using.
Yeah.
And then, so my wife brought me a piece of recovery literature that we all know too well, and she would leave it on my counter at the Airbnb, and then she would fuck off, right? Because she's like, I can't watch you kill yourself.
Yeah.
And I would stare at that thing every day, and I knew that there was a place for me to go after. I knew, right? I never opened the book. But I knew what was fucking in there.
Yeah.
And it's not just words on a page.
No.
That book for me symbolizes a life.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
A program, a spiritual program.
They say that book is besides like the Bible. So the Bible is the #1 book bought that's never read. And that book that you're talking about is the second most bought book in the world that's never read. So most of the time it just sits on the shelf, you know,
collecting dust, or given away to somebody.
Yeah.
Cool, bro. So I'm interested. I'm happy that you're opening up about this, because I think since I've relapsed, I've found that I feel like I have an obligation to like tell people how not to relapse.
Yeah,
but also
for sure.
like, we have an experience that people need to hear. Right?
Yeah.
So can you walk us through the original time coming into recovery? Like what that you mentioned DUIs and stuff.
Yeah.
And then and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. I'll tell you like my story pretty much. So Anthony, I was born in Lake St. Catharines, January 11, 1989. I ended up moving to Burlington when I was 19 with my parents. With my mom and my stepdad. My dad's one of us. He's an alcoholic. I haven't talked to him in like 20 years actually, but he was a great father growing up, you know, trained me how to play lacrosse. I played high level lacrosse and was pretty good at it. All sports. If you put a stick in my hand, I was pretty good with it. You know, I knew what to do. Athlete of the year, all these kinds of things. And I got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis at a young age. When I was playing lacrosse, and
sorry, what is that?
It's like Crohn's disease.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was, you know, it took a toll on my life. I had to quit playing lacrosse. I had to stop going to school. It got really bad. And, I was introduced to painkillers for the first time at a young age. And I remember just taking more than I should have, and just feeling like bliss. you know? So I think that's kind of like where my addiction started. If I think back, my dad had left around that time. I stopped playing lacrosse. I dropped out of school, started hanging around the wrong people. And eventually I got better and moved up to Burlington with my mom and stepdad. And from there, you know, I wasn't really using as much, but I was like a weekend warrior type deal. So I would start on Friday and end on Sunday, but I'd go heavy. You know, I don't know if we can be drug specific.
Yeah,
go
ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so I'd be doing
coke. Has a purpose.
Yeah, lots of cocaine, opiates, and alcohol was like my main thing. I wouldn't do drugs or coke without drinking, right? And got into an unhealthy relationship from there, and just toxic. I moved her into my parents' basement, and we ended up, you know, just fighting a lot. Not physically, but like emotionally and mentally, just destroying each other type deal thing. And, you know, from 19 to 27, I ended up, you know, going to jail a few times, hanging around the wrong people. The drugs got worse. The situations I was in became more dangerous. You know, the fighting between me and her got a lot worse as well. And I went to jail after, so I got my first DUI when I was, 21, and I got my license back, I think, after 3 years. And when I was 27, I got my second DUI. And as I was fighting my second DUI, they give you your license back until you're charged, because I wanted to fight it. I didn't want to have 2 DUIs on my record, and I caught my third. I saw, you know, the cherries behind me on the cop car, and I don't know what I was thinking. I was obviously out of it, high on coke, drunk out of my mind, and I pedaled to the metal and I ran from them. I ended up crashing on the highway going like 180 miles per hour. Spun out, and I ran, and then I woke up like in a ditch in Stony Creek with like 20 dogs and 20 cops around me. They took me to jail, and I think a couple of weeks later or a month later or something, my lawyer came, and he said, you can either stay in here or you can go to Addiction Rehab Toronto. And I went to Addiction Rehab Toronto, and that was 2017 for the first time.
So you were in jail for a month up until that
I think
point?
It was like 3 weeks. Yeah, which is the longest amount of time in jail I had ever done.
It's too much time.
Yeah,
like,
scary.
What was that like?
I actually ended up doing weekends after that as part of my sentence, which was scarier. But I'll talk about like that. Like that was, I went to Maplehurst, and in Maplehurst, it's all individual cells. So like you have one cellie. So me and you would share a cell. Whereas Thorold, where I did my weekends, it's all open custody. So there's like 20 bunks on this side and 20 bunks on this side. And it's free range. Anybody can talk to each other or fight each other or whatever it is. So it's a bit more dangerous doing weekends, because you're also with people in different categories of what they've done. Right. Some people were in there for, you know, some pretty bad stuff. So, but for the 3 weeks in Maplehurst, I was honestly like detoxing for half the time, you know, and I would just sleep as much as I could. Detoxing in jail is probably one of the worst things I've ever had to do. And I remember just really wanting a cigarette. I wanted a smoke. And when my lawyer came, I asked him if you can smoke in treatment. He said, yeah, because I didn't want my parents to spend money, you know? So when he said you can smoke in treatment, I was like, okay, take me to treatment. And that was the kicker.
Yeah, that's the only, you know,
to be honest.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I need. Okay, I can smoke. And I get that. I totally get that. Yeah. It's like, if I can't have that, you know, I need something. Something. Right? So you go to Addiction Rehab Toronto, and then what happens there? Like, I'm assuming at this point you knew you had a problem.
For sure. You know? Absolutely. I remember going, I think I was 16 years old, and I remember going back to my mom's house. This is in St. Catharines before I moved to Burlington, and at like 4 a.m, and I remember knocking on the door for her to let me in, and she came, and I remember I just broke down and started crying, like in her arms, and told her that I'd been doing cocaine, you know, and she hugged me, obviously, and like took care of me. And, you know, I went to bed, and the next morning I sought out a therapist and, you know, tried doing all these other things. And, you know, I was just going to the therapist and then getting beer afterwards and going to you. So that didn't really work. Like you said, for us, I think the only thing is, you know, some type of program. So, yeah, I ended up, knowing I had a problem at that point when I went. Did I want to stop entirely? I wasn't ready yet, but I was the best client there. You know, if you told me to do something in rehab, I did whatever you told me to do. I've always been like a people pleaser, you know, and good at getting people to like me. You know, I'm good at talking. And I did whatever they told me to do. Ended up chairing like a few recovery meetings while I was in there. And when I got out, I went right back to the ex-girlfriend that I had told you about. And, you know, at that point we had a no contact order against each other. I wasn't allowed to see her. She wasn't allowed to see me. And we still hung out. We got into like a verbal altercation. She called the cops on me. I was also not supposed to be drinking and on house arrest at this time as well. So I breached like 2 or 3 things. And I went back to jail again from there. And then I remember calling Eric from jail, and he said, yeah, come to sober living. So my lawyer got me 2 years on house arrest if I was in sober living. So that led
2 years.
For 2 years. So that led me to art and sober living for 2 years on house arrest. And I did pretty good there. I had a few slips in between, obviously, but during that time, like I lost a lot of good friends. You know, my best friend, Pat, that Eric knew very well, passed away. Jonathan, who was the head chef at Art, he ended up passing away. Chris passed away. John ended up passing away.
I know him.
You knew John? Yeah,
I knew him well.
So
I
was the last person
we went to
with
elementary
him.
school together.
Wow. That's crazy. I had no idea.
Yeah, I went to that funeral. That was tough, man.
Yeah.
I know his parents well, and our families. We went to the same elementary school and high school.
Is right?
Yeah.
So like that was really tough for me because how it happened, right? Like I don't even know if you want to get into that, but just like I remember being called from a private investigator like every week, like where is he? And I had left him and went back to sober living, and he was found, you know, dead where I had left him, right? So like months later or weeks later or something like that, in a field. So anyways, that messed me up pretty badly, you know. I remember having to sit down with his family and just like tell them like my experience on how that had happened and what had happened. And I always kind of felt like some type of guilt and shame for not trying to get him to come back with me harder than I did, you know. And from there, like I kept relapsing after that. I went back to Burlington, went to my parents' house, lived with them for a while, and then it got so bad to the point where I was kicked out, nowhere to go, basically living in essentially what you would call a trap house, you know, in Burlington and Warwick. And my buddy Pat, who passed away, who was like my best friend, his family actually took me in, came and saved me from the apartment that I was staying in, where I was, you know, essentially killing myself with drugs and alcohol and whatever else. And they put me into a rehab, and then they put me in a sober living house, which was called the Phoenix House. And that was made in memory of Pat, who passed away. And my buddy Julian opened it up. I don't know if you remember Julian. Yeah. And I did
is that still around, that place?
No, because he died,
I know,
right? Sorry.
I remember. He passed away too.
He passed away too. And when he passed away, I was just like, what is going on? You know, like everybody's dropping, and it was scary, bro. And you know, the place, it was a great place. Thomas, I don't know if you know him. Love him to death. Yeah. You know, he's done a lot for me. And you know, that place really helped me quite a bit. And like, I have nothing but the utmost love and respect for Tina and Mario, who were Pat's parents, right? That brought me in and took care of me. They gave me a job as well at one point, working for Mario's company, making really good money, right? So I think after Julian died, I went out west to some place called Together We Can. And
another rehab
center
like Vancouver
in Vancouver.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think I did okay there, you know. I was just doing meetings, like I wasn't getting into the solution of things. And you know, I wasn't really working out, which is a big part of my recovery as well. And I ended up losing a girlfriend, actually. Monica was her name. Eric had given her a job at art at one point, and you know, a lot of people tried helping her, and she ended up passing away. So I remember going back to Toronto for her funeral, and I just never left after that. You know, I didn't go back to Vancouver again. I struggled, and this kind of brings me to the point in 2025 where I was at like the jumping off point. I had gone to jail again for the first time in like 7 years since the DUIs. In a blackout, I kicked down a door to try and grab my belongings that I had left somewhere, because I thought I heard people laughing on the other side. And it turns out it was the wrong apartment floor, and there was a family inside.
Full-blown
psychosis. Yeah. And thankfully nobody was hurt or anything like that. But you know, I probably traumatized a family, right? Like I didn't know what was even going on or where I was. So it turns out the apartment building was in Jane and Finch, so it wasn't a good area. You know, it could have easily been shot or killed or something. And I'm not like the type of person that likes to fight or likes confrontation. I guess just when I put myself in dangerous situations with dangerous people. And I ended up going to jail. I got let out, and that's when I called Eric in 2025, and I said, you need to give me one more chance. He took that chance on me. I did whatever they told me to do again in treatment. I met Alan. 2 things he told me to do were not to make decisions based on bad feelings and don't do things I can't talk about, right? And I stuck to that for...
don't do things I can't talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, don't make decisions based on shitty feelings, and don't do things I can't talk about. Simple,
right? You know?
Which is all I could do. Like
integrity.
Yeah, right. And I did well. I ended up taking over one of the jobs for house manager at the sober living house. I went back to school, which I'm finishing up now, actually. And you know, I really started to like dive into a program. I sponsored guys. What else? I was focused on the gym a lot. And then like 15 months sober, I went on this spiritual retreat in Mexico, and I met a girl, you know, an amazing person. I thought I was ready for a relationship. Turns out I wasn't. And I slowly started to like come off the beam and started focusing more on the job, focusing on school, focusing on the relationship.
Recovery starts to go down the ladder, right?
Exactly. And yeah, Anthony. And then I think on the 16th, my 16th month that I was sober, I was in a place I shouldn't have been. Like my integrity slowly started to go away through, you know, after my year. I stopped writing out my inventory every night. I was focusing more like on getting things like money or materialistic objects. Like I wanted the girl, I wanted the apartment, I wanted the car, like everything that, you know, the book talks about money, prestige, and property. And like, that's kind of where my focus was, instead of how can I get better like internally and bring my recovery to that next level, you know, spiritually. I always kind of matched like my insides on your or what is it? I always kind of matched how I feel on what you thought about me, you know, like my insides on your outsides type deal thing. And
I need you to love me for me to love myself.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Codependency.
Yeah. Codependency. Exactly. Yeah. So from there, like I was in, I'll just say where I was. I went to the casino by myself, and I've never had a gambling problem. So, you know, in my head, it's like, okay, I can go play some slots just to switch up from going to a meeting or doing what I usually do on Saturday nights. And I think it was about 12 o'clock. and they say like people, places, and things, right? I was by myself. I didn't bring anybody with me. I was in a place where I shouldn't have been because I had relapsed years before in this same casino by myself, not even thinking about that. And
mental blank spot.
Mental blank spot. Exactly. I didn't have they talk about like having a defense, right? Like if I'm in the middle, I've got meetings, I've got my meditation, I've got God or a higher power, whatever you want to choose, my fellowship, working out, like all these things. But at that time and place, all these, like everything kind of started to fade away. And I didn't want to call my sponsor and tell him I was at a casino because I was supposed to be at the house watching over the guys, right? And you know, I saw these guys drinking at a bar, and the thought came, and I prayed for it to go away, and you know, it did, and then it came back, and then boom, you know, 16 months down the drain that I had been working so hard to get, and that was it. That's all it took, was one drink, and I was off to the races, you know. And you know, I dropped out of school. I lost my job. You know, my friends could only help me so much, right? My family could only help me so much. And, you know, the girlfriend stuck around, actually. She was the only person that was there for me pretty much at the end of it, which is why it was so hard to, you know, to break up and tell her I have to focus on myself for a while, you know. But it was the best thing for me now that I look back at it at the end of the day, right? Because I can't transmit to you something that I don't have. Like I can't. And you know, she deserved to I don't want to get too much into it, but she's a good person and deserves more than, you know, what I was able to give her at the time. So
well said.
Yeah.
I want to two things, but I want to talk about the relationship piece in early sobriety, because I think that's so important for guys and women too. But
yeah,
I was always taught not to get into a relationship in the first year.
Yeah.
But even, you know, I've done it in my recovery. The last time I celebrated a year, I got into a relationship, same thing, like 13 months.
Yeah.
And it was fucking hard, dude.
So hard.
Like I stayed sober through it, but it was tough. So I want to get into that, but I want to ask you, I'm curious, when you had that drink at the casino, what did your next couple of weeks, months look like? Did you go like head first? Was it a slow
head first? I'm the type of person that doesn't drink without using. And I know that in the back of my head, but for whatever reason, my head was like, you can have a few drinks, right? Like I've always kind of had that reservation where it's like, you know, if you have a bit of time under your belt, which I've never had in my life, like I've never had a year sober. I've never had 15 months sober, 16, whatever it was. It was 60 days back out, 60 days back out, 60 days back out. So my head was saying, okay, you know, you're in school, you've got a girlfriend, you've got a job, you've got a program around you, you're working out, you're healthy, you can have a fucking drink. And I took that drink, and I kid you not, Anthony, like I think 4 hours after, I was in a dangerous place with dangerous people getting, you know, some cocaine or crack or whatever you want to call it. And the next day when and I'm supposed to be watching over the sober house at this time, right? Like Eric's put me in charge to watch over 8 guys and make sure people aren't using. And, you know, I'm not even there. I was gone. I didn't go back to the house. You know, Alan was calling me, looking for me. My girlfriend at the time was calling me, looking for me. And they actually found where I was actually. I was in the jungle, like they call it the jungle off Eglinton West, down there. And my friend actually, who works at the center, used to party there, and she's the one who told them where I was. And I remember, I think it was like my 4th day of using or something. Again, my phone's gone, phone's off, nobody's able to get a hold of me. And, you know, I turn around and I see Alan and my girlfriend at the time. And and Alan's girlfriend, Jacqueline. And I'm just like in shock. I've never had such bad post-traumatic stress in my life, man. And, you know, they came and got me. They dragged me out. Eric brought me into detox. And I think that was after like a week of using. And I remember looking at Josh, and Josh saying, bro, you've lost a lot of weight, like 7 days. I don't know about you, like, but when I'm using, I don't eat, I don't sleep, I don't drink. Like,
nothing else matters.
Nothing else matters.
Except for getting high.
Exactly. So that's what happened. He took me into detox. I left, right? I wasn't done yet. I went out and used again. I went into the CAMH detox. I left. I wasn't done yet. Eric brought me in again. I sobered up for about a month, and then I left, you know, and that went on for about 4 months. And then I remember calling Alan and or my mom, my mom called Alan and you know, said he needs help and that he's serious this time, and I was, you know, and they sent me to the Last Door out west in Vancouver, which is, you know, a crazy. It's an amazing treatment center, just not what I'm used to. You know, it's hardcore.
Okay,
like
okay.
It's not like addiction. It's not like art, like where there's nice, you know, beds and you know, personal chefs. I think they have a chef there, but it's just it's very strict. You know, the rules are very strict. You always have to bring somebody with you if you're going somewhere. You can't call anybody until like the 2 weeks is done, and you have to complete the 12 steps before you go the NA way. And like anyway, sorry for.
No, you're good. You're good. I mean, it's called The Last Door.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
that kind of says everything about
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
Dude, fuck, man. Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, my first treatment center, I went to Hazelden when I was 23 in Minnesota, and it was much like that.
Yeah.
Where I was the oldest guy. There was a lot of young kids there.
Yeah.
And it was like no bullshit. You don't follow the rules, like you're
gone.
You're fucking gone, right?
Yeah.
There's the door. You can leave whenever you want.
Yeah.
But we're not giving you your passport back or not. And I'm in the middle of Minnesota.
Wow.
Like, I'm not going anywhere, right?
Right.
And I was with a bunch of opiate users, right?
Yeah.
Where it was like so easy for me to, I'm not that bad, guys. Like, meanwhile, I'm using cocaine every day.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can touch my fingers in between my nose. My body is a complete mess. I'm a mess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like something just clicked while I was in there. And I always call it hope, right? I think hope is like the most important thing for us. We need to be able to see people working some program.
Yeah.
That we would have hung out with, you know what I mean? Like we can relate to.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, this guy's cool and he's sober.
Yeah.
And he's smiling all the time.
Right.
And he's in a fucking rehab. Like,
yeah,
there's something here, man.
What's going on?
Maybe I can be happy without drugs. And that's like the kind of seed that gets planted.
Right.
But to your point, man, it's like when I got out of there, I'm so defiant. I think it sounds like we're both like that. And
entitled and defiant.
So when I relapsed, and I've been to 3 rehabs, when I went to this third one and they told me I had to stay 60 days instead of 30, I fought them for maybe like a week and a half before I finally just fucking shut up, dude. Just like an extra 30 days. Looking back, it's like hilarious, right? Because it's like 30 days in rehab compared to, I don't know, prison or whatever.
Yeah.
It's so easy looking back, but when you're in it, man, it
sucks. It's tough.
It's so, especially when you had some recovery before.
That's the hardest part, I think, too, Anthony. Like you said, like having, how did you say? A belly full of beer and a head full of AA?
A head full of recovery.
A head full of recovery and a belly full. Yeah. So like, yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Cause like my buddy used to always say, his cocaine's cut with recovery now. Same type of deal, right?
That's great.
Yeah, his cocaine's cut with recovery.
100%.
Every time he does a line, somebody would call from recovery. Yeah. And
or he would get a memory of like how much better life is, right?
In recovery, yeah. So it's like that always hit with me.
For me, it was like I'd be at like these Airbnbs and I would hear police sirens like we do in Toronto every day. And I'd be like, they're fucking coming for me.
For sure.
100% they're coming for me. It's
yeah.
Like, you're like, what have I done wrong? What am I on?
Right.
And then you're like, nothing. Okay, but they're not coming for me. and then you get reminded, you're like, God, there was a time when that never bothered me.
Yeah.
And so those things start to come up. You're like, I remember not being bothered by police
sirens. Yeah.
And now it's all I can think about is I got to hide the shit. I'm fucking
who's in my phone. That's another reason why I get rid of my phone right away. I think I start to think
paranoid.
Like, the cops are after me, or, you know, somebody's going through my phone, or my location is on, or it's not enjoyable.
I want to talk about this relationship piece because I don't think I've ever talked about this on the podcast, but it's so important. I think a lot of guys that I know, and some women too, but I talk to more guys about this.
Yeah.
They don't relapse because of girls, right? It's
no,
not, but it seems to be sort of a hand in hand thing where it's like, I want to get in a relationship because I need to cling on to something.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not using, my solution has gone out the window.
Right.
I need a new solution.
Absolutely.
I'm not ready for the spiritual one yet because I'm newly sober, or I don't understand it, or I'm still taking my will back.
Nailed it.
I'm going to choose a woman, a relationship, gambling, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So why do you think we can't have, I don't want to say can't, why do you think it's hard to do relationships in early recovery?
I mean, like for me, and yeah, good way to put it, Anthony. Yeah. So it's like, I'm still trying to, and I think now, you know, it's getting better. But I'm trying to like get a sense of my values and integrity and morals and like who I am as a person, what I like, what I don't like. So if I don't even know who I am or what I like or love myself yet, you know, it's so cliche how they say it, but it's also the truth. How am I going to love you and give you what you need if I'm still trying to, you know, it's a selfish program, right? And I just think like, I don't know about you, but like that relationship I had, that was unhealthy that I was talking to you about brought up a lot of, the one when I was younger, like when I went to jail, not the most recent one, brought up a lot of like insecurities and the recent one that I was just in, you know, like the trust issues and, how insecure I can be sometimes. And, you know, just like accountability and communication and all these things, they're so difficult. Like if you're not ready for them, you know, if I'm not ready for them. And, you know, I'm just kind of like now starting to touch the surface of my foundation. I thought I was ready because it was like, okay, wait until you get your year. Everybody kept telling me, wait until you got, and I did. And right away after I got my year, the first thing I started to look for was a relationship, you know, instead of like naturally letting it come to me. And, you know, when I got the 16 months, I stayed away from relationships, and I also stayed away from sex for 15 months, and I thrived. It was the best I had ever done, you know. So that's what I'm doing now, coming up to 6 months again, which is the second most amount of clean time I've ever had in my life. Again, I'm not having sex. I'm not in relationships. And I just need to focus on myself right now. And I would advise everybody, unless you're married with kids or you know, you have somebody that's like stayed true to you and held you down through all this, which, you know, the last one I was with, I don't want to mention her name just because I don't want to break her anonymity, but she stayed solid and like she was loyal. And like I said, she was like the only person who was there for me at the end. But again, I wasn't ready for it. You know, she can be 5 years sober and be a psychotherapist and personal trainer and all these things and have a good program. But if I'm not like okay with myself, it's just going to reflect on her, and I'll take it out on her or take it out on myself, which is what I ended up doing.
Beat
right?
yourself up.
Yeah.
Well said, man. No, I think it's so true. It's like relationships are hard for normal people without addiction and alcoholism.
Right.
I don't know about you, but I drank, used, partied, gambled. I use outside things to change my insides because I don't like the emotions that come up.
Love it.
The thought, the future, I have to do that thing. Fuck. Oh, I'm just going to, I'm gone. And I'm not thinking about it.
Yeah.
So you add another dynamic into your life, relationship. It's tapping all sorts of, you said it perfectly, insecurities, things I didn't even know I was struggling with.
Yeah.
And now they're brought to the surface. If I don't have a strong recovery program, I always tell guys that I work with too, I'm like, you can date in early recovery. You can. I'm not going to tell you not to do it. But you better be fucking working your program 35 times harder than you would have.
For sure.
I strongly advise against it. To your point, it's why add the undue stress? I also love what you said too, is like it's real simple. I was looking for a relationship instead of letting it, I love that. Instead of letting it come to me. You said it perfectly. What's my motive here? Right. I'm trying to feel better about myself by using other women. Right. Yeah. And not just for sex, but for emotional comfort. Yeah.
Right? Exactly. So somebody to just hold me.
Exactly. You know? Because I can't hold myself.
Right.
So if I'm it's really this simple. Am I looking for that or am I letting it come to me? Yeah. And then you can answer that question.
Right. Absolutely.
So
man.
maybe just wait a bit, right?
Yeah.
I'm not telling you, I'm saying to everybody.
To everybody.
Maybe just wait a bit.
Yeah. Just give it a minute. Yeah. Give it a year and then give it another year after that.
It came to me, man. My wife came to me when I wasn't looking for a relationship in 7 years in. Wow. You know?
I had 7.5 years.
Yeah.
What brought you out?
My relapse was, and I won't get too into it because I always talk about it on here. I don't want to bore people. Yeah. But essentially it started with steroids. It started with secrets around the steroids and hiding them. Yeah. And then to fix my body dysmorphia issues. And then I always say this, it's like relapse, steroids didn't make me relapse. It was the fact,
the
it was the relationship around it.
Right.
And yeah, I would tell my sponsor, like I was getting it legally, which I was.
Yeah.
So, but I was telling people 90% of the truth.
Yeah.
And then the 10% I was back here. Like,
right.
I got this trend in my hand.
Right.
I'm not going to tell them about that.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm diving into all sorts of other steroids. Right.
Yeah.
I had a counselor I went to rehab in Utah. I love the guy, fucking gem of a human.
How is it? I heard Utah's amazing.
Oh, beautiful. I would recommend it.
Yeah.
I'm excited to go back.
It's in the desert,
not
right?
in rehab.
Out there?
Yeah, it's near Colorado. It's like Appalachian Mountains, I think.
Yeah.
But I had his name was Sam, and he would always say, you know, if you're robbing banks 90%, or sorry, you're robbing banks 10% of the time, but the 90% of the time you're not robbing banks, you're still a fucking bank. And I was like, I love that. I try to think of that today. It goes back to your integrity thing.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
What am I doing in my recovery that I wouldn't be telling people about?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And not in a braggy sort of like, hey, I robbed a bank.
No,
right? But
no.
You know when you're doing the wrong
that
thing.
Sneaky thing, like, yeah, and it's like putting 9 eggs in your basket and leaving that 10th one out, or whatever they say, right? Like, and it goes to being like all in this program. Half measures availed us nothing, right? So it's like, if I can, that's just for me though, because I don't know about you, Anthony, but I know a lot of people in recovery that do some stuff on the side and still stay sober, right? And I'm always battling in my head, like, how come he can do that? Why are they able to do this and make money this way, or whatever it is? But I'm stuck here, like
being a good guy.
Being a good, yeah. Like, I don't want to always be a good guy.
I get it,
but I have to be, because
yeah.
for the, you know, for people like us, I think it's so crucial and critical, because like, if I don't pay for the bus, it eats me up now, or I've got to put it on my inventory.
I'm the same. And that's what leads to the relapse, right?
Yeah.
It's like these unchecked emotions that keep coming back up.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I always like to make the connection between practicing integrity and staying sober. Mm-hmm. If I'm practicing integrity, I don't have to deal with those shame emotions that keep coming up of I'm a bad person. I shouldn't have done that. So yeah, I laugh because like same thing. I'm like, comparison is the thief of joy. It's so true.
I love that.
Where it's just like, why can that guy get away with? For me, here was my thing, because I relapsed on ADHD medication by the end of it. That's how it led me back to meth and using the dark web and all this sorts of shit.
Yeah. I've gone down that road.
Yeah. Dangerous.
Yeah.
Right? You can fucking get a lot of shit on there. But I fucking threw out that computer. I
smart.
I would get dopamine
get rid of the hard
from
drive.
shopping for drugs.
Yeah.
Like at 4 a.m. That was like,
it was almost better than the actual high.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was my thing, was pursuing, looking at pictures.
Yeah.
Like, it was insane.
Yeah.
It was insane. And so
I used to just go on my phone for hours and reset all the settings on my phone when I used to do meth, or
like just fiddle with the settings.
Yeah, just like
to get a dopamine hit,
or no, because I thought people were like in it or whatever, right? It would get weird, like password psychosis almost, and I would rearrange all the passwords. And anyways,
I've done that.
Scary.
Password psychosis.
Yeah, that's what my buddy calls it.
But so I there would be people in recovery that I knew that were on ADHD medication. And so that was a dangerous thing for me, because they actually had ADHD. I don't have ADHD. I convinced myself I had ADHD. Right. When the doctor asked me, hey, did you struggle with substance abuse in the past? I would always click no on the thing. It's like integrity, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, they would be doing it for years. And it's like, why can they get away with it? But it's like, dude, you don't have ADHD. Stop.
Yeah, stop.
Like, you're just trying to fucking change your insides with outside things.
I had the same problem with benzos for a long time. I was always like, okay, well, this guy's taking it. He has anxiety. I know I definitely have anxiety, like for sure.
You're a doctor now, all of a sudden.
Yeah, right. Look, I've been through more than him. I should be able to take a benzo once in a while again. But it's the same effect. It's like, if I start, taking benzodiazepine, I'm going to abuse it. I'm going to abuse it to the point where I feel drunk, and then I'm going to go get blow.
It's just the risk reward is, but it's hard to see that now, right? I mean, now it's easier to see that,
right?
But when you're in that thought pattern, you've already, we all know you've relapsed weeks before you actually relapse.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
You're fucking contemplating, you're making up deals with yourself, justifying things.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous place to be. And then, one of my favorite lines in the book that I came across this time in recovery was, I have simply lost my right to chemical peace of mind.
Ooh, right? I love that.
It's like, I cannot safely use anything.
Right.
That's why, like, I see a lot of people with these, and we don't need to take other people's inventory.
Yeah.
I'm very good at it.
Yeah.
When you start to see like peptides and like all these
Yeah.
other things,
Yeah.
like, for me, listen, I'm not going to tell anyone you're going to fucking relapse after that. It's
Yeah.
just know your motive.
Yeah.
Be honest with yourself. Be honest with others.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it's like, I went through an Ozempic phase for a long time.
Yeah.
And it all fucking just trickles back to the same
To
thing.
the same thing.
So now today, I cannot use anything.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know that. Yeah.
And that's just me.
Has to be like smashed into your head, right? Like for me, like when I went to the last store, I got off a lot of medication that I was, taking, and I wasn't abusing it, but it would have eventually went down that road. I would have ended up abusing it or tried to match it with, it's like, it's almost like a safety net, where it's like, just another thing to
You're still escaping, right?
Yeah, in some type of way. Like, listen, some people need medication, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm not like anti-med,
Exactly.
but like if it's a narcotic, in my experience, it's not going to end well for the real like type 3 or whatever you want, for the real addict, right? So, yeah. And what else did I want to say? What was the last thing that we were talking about?
Medication and
relationships.
Yeah, relationships.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, let's.
What? So, what do you think? What do you think has changed this time around from the last time?
You want to something funny? Actually, is like I've always like ran from my emotions. Like if I had broken up with somebody in recovery in the past and, which was one of the hardest things I've had to do in recovery for me, like personally, I don't deal well with, emotions, especially when it comes to a breakup or relationships. But I think like they're just, it got to the point where it was, after having the 16 months sober and relapsing, it got scary for me. And I was like, I'm either going to die, end up in jail for a long time, or I'm going to seek spiritual help or some type of program in recovery, and I'm going to get better. And I'm not going to be able to do that unless I focus on myself right now. And like having to do that and, to the one person who was like there for me through all this shit. I just felt, while I was in a place, at the time I was in a sober living facility where, people were constantly relapsing around me, and like, I stayed sober through that. And I just felt like it got to a point where I'm just done, Like, it doesn't matter what you throw at me. I don't care what happens, who passes away, what legal issues I have to go through, if I get the job, if I don't get the job, if I lose a girl, don't lose the girl. Like, I just felt like I got to that point where it's like, I'm done, and that doesn't mean that it can't come back and, I can use again. So I got to be careful. Like, I got to stay on the beam, right. And like keep my program intact. But I've also, gone through a lot of emotions, a lot of anger, like resentment, towards a lot of people, but mainly towards myself.
That's the big one.
Taking it out on other people that don't really deserve it, or some do deserve it, in my opinion. But again, like, that's not I got to clean my side of the street, right? That's all that matters. So anyways, what's different is I just feel like I'm able to like, handle, my emotions a lot better. And I know what to do. Like, I don't want to say I know what to do now, because it sounds closed-minded, and I want to be open-minded. And like every morning I pray for a new experience in recovery to my higher power. I say that like 3 times a day. And, I ask my higher power to give me what I need and not what I want, because what I want usually takes me back out. Right. So, but I just feel like, I know what I have to do, and I'm dedicated and motivated to doing it again. And, I want back what I got last time, times more. Like, if I can do what I did last time in a year, in 5 years, who knows where this can take us, right? Like, obviously you've had 7.5
fourth
years,
dimension, bro.
Right.
Like, you get rocketed if you stay in the middle and do the things that are suggested of you.
Yeah.
I want to talk about spirituality because I love talking about spirituality, and
Yeah.
I think it's so essential for the type 3, the real alcoholic addict.
Absolutely.
I think some people get sober without it. The more I've been doing the podcast and social media, I've met a lot of people that don't necessarily need to go the spiritual route.
Yeah.
In my opinion, they're missing a huge, amazing, beautiful part of life.
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
It's funny how this thing works. Like, I'll be on social media, and I'll start seeing people that I truly admire that are not even near the addiction realm, or they don't have a problem, and they start talking about God and spirituality. Very successful, humble people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I've always known this. There's something here, right? There's something
Absolutely.
to be had, and it's not me going to church. It's like you said, talking to a power greater than yourself.
Yeah.
Turning over your thoughts and your actions, right? So what does spirituality mean to you, and why is it important?
I think like the main thing is humility, for me, for spirituality. And it sounds like like this small thing, but I don't know about you. I feel like you might be similar, but for me, like, ego is a huge thing. I start to get things back. I start to look a bit better. I think a bit better. People start to like me again. And then, it's my will. And I start living in my will, and like looking at what I can take and what I can get, instead of what can I give to you and how can I be of service, right? So I think like spirituality is just like living in love, and I do believe like there's a greater consciousness, or whatever you want to say, that's like we're all guided by. I choose to call it God personally. I also think like everybody's looking for this burning bush moment, or for, a white light, or the clouds to spread and like lightning to come down, when, our book, it says, or the book that I use, it says God is within us, deep down in every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God. Right. So yeah, I think like, and it goes back to integrity again as well, just living in what I think is, and not always what I think, because like I can manipulate my thinking without thinking I'm manipulating my thinking.
Gray area. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's just kind of, what the right thing to do is. And sometimes I got to call my, my mentor, sponsor, counselor, Eric Allen, people that I trust, right? And that I know have my best interest at heart, and just kind of do the right thing. And it's not always easy, because sometimes I don't know what the right thing is, but
that's when you reach out for help, though. It's like you said, right?
Right.
And you mentioned like your phone now is filled with people in recovery.
Yeah.
The last guy I had in here, Jamie, he talked about, messaging and keeping in touch with people in recovery. How important is that to you, and like what does that look like?
Honestly, it's I could do a better I could do a better job at it, to be honest with you, but it's of vital importance to like connection, like everybody knows, or if you don't know, it's the opposite of addiction, right? Or isolation, whatever you want to say. So even just like if somebody asked me to speak at a recovery meeting, or if you asked me to come on the podcast, which thank you, by the way, I'm grateful. Nice to officially have this talk with you. But I think just like picking up the phone and calling, right? Like either I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling my dope dealer, or I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling somebody to talk me out of calling my dope dealer. So it's really important. I try to call at least one person a day. I think there was probably a number of times last year where I was like 6 months sober, or 8 months sober, or 9 months sober, and I was gone. Like in my head, I didn't tell anybody this, but there were a number of times when I was getting ready to go pick up and use, and for whatever reason, Eric called me, or he came by the house and he took me for coffee, or Alan called me, or Josh, or somebody called me, right? And I was just like, okay, like that's God. Like in my opinion,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, spirituality, I mean, it looks different for a lot of different people, but like you said, it doesn't have to be in a church. My spirituality is in a church basement, you know, with coffee and old men and women or whatever, right? So,
I mean, a power greater than yourself is a group of people, right? A group of drunks,
right?
You know?
Right.
It's so essential, right? My way is not working. I need a new plan. And I'm going to go to these people who have gotten a plan from other people before them.
Right.
It's not their plan,
no,
right? It's this sort of shared plan.
Yeah.
Call people when you want to drink. Do service when you can.
Right.
Practice principles, 12 principles in your life every day. Like it's not really up for debate, right? Whether it works or not. I've seen it work in thousands of people over the 10 years that I've been in recovery. And the more tapped in I am to that, if I just trust the process, it'll all work out. Here's my thing that I want to get into, because we talked a little bit. I like talking about unmanageability on this podcast, like current unmanageability. But you kind of opened up, and I'd love to hear more about what you're struggling with. But for me, I was really looking forward to today, and I can't always say that with the podcast because it's become like, I don't want to say boring. It's become sort of like
monotonous.
Yeah, just like you know, I'm not getting results that I want in quotations, right? I'm not, these things aren't happening, and I'm just trying to stay consistent with it. So it's like, you know, I posted that thing and I saw that you commented on it, is like, passion is something that you're willing to suffer through. And I'm like, when I saw that, I was like, dude, like I love this shit. But I don't always love it. You know what I mean? I don't. Like it's work, right? I don't want to always get out of my house and spend money and not get anything in return. I can be a baby about it.
Of course.
But like, fuck, every time I do it, I come away and I meet the coolest people. I get messages and people are like, hey man, that guy was really good. Thank you for that. So like, I'm willing to suffer for it. You know? And that's what I think is important today. I'm kind of in this place in my recovery right now. I just celebrated a year again.
Congrats,
thanks,
by the
man.
way.
And
I saw
like
that.
you too, man. Like
thank you.
It's amazing to hear your story and like that you're alive, right?
That's the
we
main
shouldn't
thing.
be here.
No.
You know, both of us. I've been in many scenarios where I should be dead. And God had another plan, right? And I think that plan is to help one person somewhere along the line, you know,
for sure.
And so that's what I try to keep in mind with this, is like, detach from the outcomes, just keep doing it because there's a purpose here. Right? And so I would say like that's my biggest struggle right now is sort of I get in my head a lot, but where I was going with all this is I was sitting at home today and we moved this up a day, which thank you, by the way.
Of course.
I was in my head about my financial is my problem right now. And I go back to this idea of like, turn it over. You remember when you used to do lines when you had financial problems? Now just fucking do a hit of God.
Whatever it is, whatever
like,
works.
Talk to God about it. Turn it over. Ask for help. But it's tough, man. Like when you're in it, like it's a daily thing, you know?
Sure.
Like some days it's like, I'm just like, I might not be able to pay my mortgage. All these things are just coming up, and it's like, it's not, yes, there are problems in my life. But I was taught by one of my favorite speakers that it's everything is perception. It's how I'm looking at it. You know, but when you're in it, man. So my point with all this huge ramble is when I got up my ass and came here, it just went away.
It's gone.
You know? I'm sure it'll come back at some point.
For sure.
My point with all of that is like, action is so important, right? Whether it's calling, going to a meeting, whatever the thing is.
Huge.
To get out of your head.
That's like the number one, like faith without works is dead, right? And like one thing I've always been good at, Anthony, I love how you said that, is, you know, I've struggled with the open-mindedness, you know, honesty, open-mindedness, willingness. I have no problem. I'll get up, I'll go, I'll do whatever, you know, I like to keep moving. I was talking to Tamara yesterday, who, you know, and, she was like, do you have any rest days set up? And I was just like, no, I do better when I'm moving, you know, which is the truth. But, and I think like, as to your point, it's just, there's a line in one of the books, and it says, the real surrender is surrendering to the fact that I'll be surrendering for the rest of my life. So it's like just little surrenders throughout my day. Okay, if I can't pay this, surrender. This person thinks this about me, surrender, turn it over, like you said, right? Because eventually it'll, you know, it'll work out, bro. It'll all work out. And that's just like the hope that you said, which is the number one thing. Like, I've been at this for almost 10 years. And after I relapsed, after my 15 months, I never thought I'd pick up a drink or a drug again. I was like, this is not supposed to be my story, you know? but like you said, like that hope and like that faith is what it's carried me to almost 6 months now. So yeah.
So I love that. I haven't come across that. I'm sure I've come across that line.
For
but
sure.
It's like,
yeah.
you know, when you're reading it and you're like, did they always have that in
there? Yeah.
Right.
Jumps
so
out
surrender to the fact that you will be surrendering for the rest of your life.
Yeah. The real surrender is surrendering to the fact that I'll be surrendering for the rest of my life.
And that's not a life sentence either. Like,
No.
that's a beautiful, as I sit here listening to that.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a better mood now. That is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Right? If you told me that 3 hours ago, I'd be like, fuck, I know.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's beautiful. Like,
yeah.
Because then I don't have to fucking, it takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
And it's like everything we're not on the streets. We're not in jail. We're not starving. So, but money's like, things are expensive right now. Mm-hmm. You know, it's easy to get caught up in that for sure. I get caught up in it all the time. Yeah.
And then I always like to go back to, thank you, by the way, that was great.
Yeah.
I always like to go back to the, what can I do about this right now in this moment?
Yeah. Nothing.
It's always nothing.
Go rob a bank.
You know what I mean? Like, straight up, like,
yeah.
Do I want to do that?
Yeah.
No,
not anymore. Yeah, probably not.
What's going to happen after that, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, beautifully said, man. Let's finish with this. I got a lot out today. Thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
If you could say something to that that early recovery Stephen, what would you say?
Just don't give up. You know, keep coming back. Listen to what people who have come before you tell you to do. They call it suggestions. My friend Mike the Tree says it's a suggestion like pulling your parachute when you're jumping out of a plane.
I used to have a sponsor say that to me too.
Yeah, it's the truth. Just do what they tell you to do, you know, and get in the middle of this thing, hit the ground running, and you know, just never give up, I guess, and don't lose hope. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thanks
love you,
so much, brother.
Thank you.
Man.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for listening. Please help us grow the channel and like, share, and subscribe for more content. The discussions and stories shared on this podcast are for informational and motivational purposes only. This content is not a substitute for professional medical advice, addiction treatment, or therapy. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please consult a licensed physician, addiction specialist, or mental health professional. You are no longer alone.